Alright, hello everyone and welcome to Rob Races and Rebuilds. Today is going to be our final episode on Silver FG2. Now, you may notice if you've been following over the series, the car looks a little different than the last time you've seen it. So unfortunately I had a GoPro SD card corrupt and I only had the one, and I'm an impatient guy. So I kind of continued working on this car off camera. And yeah, I did you dirty. I'm sorry, but we're here now. So why don't I kind of give you a walk around tour of where we're at. I've actually been driving the car for 2 to 3 weeks now. I've been daily driving it and taking it on a few trips to the city. It's been pretty good, but we do have one issue to fix, which we'll go over in a second. But anyways, let's have a quick walk around it and I'll show you everything that's changed. So the most obvious change is you're going to see the wheels. I ended up putting these Koenig Integrams on it. They are 17 by 8 plus 45. I had them laying around. I used to use them on my G Street 10th Gen Civic Si, but they've been sitting around for 2 years. I've been using them. I don't really have anything in mind for them, so I thought, you know what, be a good way to spruce this car up and get them out of my shop. So we wrapped those in those brand new Winters you guys seen in a previous episode. They're just like a Chinese winter tire, but they're brand new. So I had those mounted up. I used some Amazon lug nuts and Amazon hub centric rings so that it's all mounted properly. I believe that's the biggest difference. On the outside, I did clean and polish the headlights. Those turned out all right. You can see, looking a little nicer. And you'll also notice the hood is matching the car again. So I was originally going to wrap the hood black because it didn't match, and I had stolen the hood from this SI for this SI. But I decided I need to get paint work done to this car anyways. And I think this car will just look cleaner with a silver hood, so I ended up going that route. I put the hood back on this car, and I'm happy I did. It just looks cleaner. The windshield is still not done. As of filming this video, it's Thursday evening, and it's going in early Monday morning to get the glass done. So once the glass is done, I'll actually be able to probably post this thing for sale. I haven't detailed the outside of it at all. I believe you guys seen me put the mud flaps on in the Rust video, but I did a bunch of work to the interior as well. Keep in mind, it's a little dirty right now as I have been driving it, but I ended up going with the red badge because I had one laying around. And this steering wheel was from my rally car, which was in nicer shape. For center console, I did the CSX Type S center console with the closing tray. And then this bezel with the carbon on it was actually from the white FG1 project. I put a new boot and bezel in that car, and I thought I'd keep this one around for a project like this. So I did that, and it's just a used OEM boot, but I did an Amazon style boot retainer. Works pretty good. It's not as nice as like a hybrid racing or a cutie unit, but it was half the price, so you can't argue with that. Also did the I think it's like a knockoff blocks or skunk tooth shifter. And underneath there, I also installed my washer trick for the solid bushings, and the shifting on this car actually feels quite amazing. Probably, I mean, I've owned, oh God, I don't even know, at least 10 8th Gen SIs, and this is the nicest shifting one I've ever had, so yeah, I did a detail on the interior, but as you can see, because I have been daily driving it, it's a little dirty, but nothing too crazy. I just pulled the seats out, gave it a solid vacuum, gave everything a wipe down. The car wasn't too bad, so. And yeah, I think that's pretty much the gist of what I did, so it wasn't too much, but yeah. In summary, we did wheels, tires, completed the interior, did the few little modifications, cleaned it out. And like I said, I've insured it and I've been driving it and it's been good. Up until yesterday, I was coming back from the city and just cruising on the highway, I got a check engine light. So I checked that when I got home with my new scanner I bought. This little guy here. And it's throwing a code for catalyst efficiency below threshold. So to my knowledge, I think a catalytic converter has to work somewhere in like the 90% range. And your secondary O2 sensor, its entire job is basically to read how efficient your cat is working. And if it's consistently below the threshold, it's going to throw that code. Now, as you guys know, this car had a hurt engine before. It was just running on 3 cylinders. Now, it running poorly like that likely may have caused a tiny bit of damage to the cat, which is why it's running a little bit below efficiency. Where I live, we don't have any type of emissions testing or inspections yearly. That's not a thing here. So what I'm going to do to remedy this is just trick the secondary O2 sensor. I got a defouler doohickey here. So I got to drill this out to fit the O2 sensor, and then we'll install that in the cat, install our O2 sensor into this, and then it should be happy hunky-dory. Because, yeah, there's really, like, the cat is still doing its job. It's, like I said, it's just a little bit below efficiency, probably due to the way that motor is running, so I'm not too worried about it. This will be an easy fix. That'll get rid of our light, and we'll be happy. Glass is coming in a few days, and then the only thing I need to fix after that is it still has its SRS light on. I've been waiting for the windshield to be done before I do that, though, because my windshield shop is in a different direction than my Honda dealership that's local-ish to me, and I didn't want to have the appointments coincide. So now that I actually have an official glass appointment, I will call Honda and get that SRS module thing dealt with so that we can sell this car, because our guy's got too many cars again. The reason I haven't had this in the shop to give you guys an update, like I said, I've been driving it for 2 or 3 weeks now, is I've had another project in here that was kind of tying things up. I couldn't move it in and out, but it's done now and it's out. So I was able to actually bring this in and do a little work on it, so I figured I'd give you guys the update. And the new project you probably are going to see after this video, and it's a rear-wheel drive car, so stay tuned for that. Anywho, I think that's enough updating. I'm going to jack this thing up. Let's get the O2 sensor out. We'll get that bung modified so we can get the O2 sensor in, clear the code, and then I think after that, I don't know, we'll see where we're at, okay? Let's just get to work. Jackie's in the car. What are you doing, Jackie? One more quick thing I want to say to you guys before we get to work here is stay tuned to the end of the video. If you want to hear a cost breakdown, I am going to do a cost breakdown on this car. I did end up going over budget, unfortunately, just, you know, due to unforeseen things. But if you are curious as to what it costs to get this car to this point, stick around to the end and I will share everything with you. When I was driving the car today, I just came back from the city today. I was at the local pick and pull, which is a dirt yard. And when I backed the car up, I thought I heard a funny noise. It sounded like a brake dragging, but the noise didn't change when I touched the brakes. So I was kind of curious what it was, which is why you might see me spinning the wheels there in the time lapse just to listen to it. And they're quiet, no noise. But then I peek under the car and what do I see? That is the plastic cover that shields the lower control arm, basically. And And when I first did the rust repair and rear suspension on this car, the one on the other side was in rough shape. It was about to fall off, so I just took it off. But the one on this side seemed like it was a fixed fine, so I didn't bother with it. But apparently it was also ready to come off too, so that would explain my dragging noise. Just gotta rip that off. We'll be good to go. And yeah, car's jacked up. I just remembered though, I can't just swap the O2 sensor super quick and easy. Because it plugs in under the center console. I need to actually pull the center console out so I can unplug the O2 properly and twist it out without damaging the wires. So I'm gonna get to doing that. And you guys already seen I hollowed this out, and I just used a spare O2 I have laying around just to test it for size, and it seems good. So yeah, I'm gonna get this torn down and we'll get that installed. All right, as you can hopefully see, our O2 fowler is in there, but our wires clip back in, so we are good to go. Hi, Jackie. Also, I clipped that piece off while I was under there. That's all it is just that little plastic cover. You can see it was dragging on the road there for a bit, but not a big deal. Doesn't need to be there. So yeah, I can put this thing back on the ground, and then we'll plug the scanner in, clear the code, and then we'll continue driving it for a few days and make sure it doesn't come back, but it shouldn't. That should fool it just fine and dandy. I was thinking, and I remembered there was a few things I forgot to tell you guys I did. Some of them you may even notice yourself. Mainly the stereo. If you remember, this car had a double din aftermarket stereo that was all floppy. We deleted on that, went back to the OEM, and got our radio code for it, which I think I wrote, or it's in the glove box there, yeah. So we have a functioning stereo that's OEM, and I also threw in a brand new cabin air filter and brand new wiper blades were the other two small things I did when I was doing miscellaneous. Anyway, I'm gonna delete the code on this car. Just gotta find the hole. Might be easier if there was hair on it. Seriously though, Honda didn't put it in the easiest freaking place to get. I mean, I could just bend over and do it, but like, why like that? When you can struggle. Hey, got it. Aight. Calm your hormones. I bought it right around the time I got this car because when you do an engine swap on these cars, or if you ever play with the throttle body, they generally need a reset. And if you go on forums, you'll have 73,000 people tell you, oh, you just got to do an idle relearn procedure and it'll be good. They're wrong. It's not the case. You also will have 73,000 people tell you that if you move the butterfly on the throttle body manually, because it is an electronic throttle body on these cars, that it ruins the internal gears and you need to now replace your throttle body. That is also total bullshit. What happens is if you switch the throttle body in the car from a different car, or you clean your throttle body and in doing so you moved your butterfly, what that does is it kind of screws up your TPS calibration, and just simply doing an idle relearn doesn't fix that. So what you need is you need to take it somewhere with a real scanner, or you can buy yourself one of these babies, which if I think of it, I'll maybe put the link in the description, which is not an affiliate link, but just if you guys are looking for the same one. You need a bi-directional scanner. So the scanner has to be able to send commands to the car. And what this does is it allows you to send the command to your throttle position sensor to reset, to go back to bare bones. And then you perform an idle relearn, and then you drive the car and it'll work 100% properly. I've confirmed this on 2 of my cars, one of which I've done with this scanner. Our code is now cleared, so we should be good to go. I'm going to continue daily driving this. Like I said, it's going for glass in a few days. And we'll make sure the code doesn't come back. It shouldn't. And once the glass is in the car, I'm probably going to post it for sale, but Jackie's on top of the car. I think I will catch up with you guys once the windshield is done and I'm actually ready to sell it. So for you, it'll be a second, but for me, it's going to be a few days. So see you then. Peace. Alrighty, guys. I know I said I'd be back after I got the windshield done, but it's another day. Jackie and I are in the shop, and I've decided I got one little thing I want to fix on this car. I was noticing it today. I was brushing snow off it outside, and I see that there's a little bit of a rust line here behind the seal, which is pretty common on these cars. The seal rubs away at the paint, and you get a little bit of a rust mark. So it's going in for the windshield there in 2 days, and this is a perfect opportunity that I can pull this window seal out and I can clean up this rust and touch up the paint on it so that when they put the new windshield in, it won't continue to rust there. And in a few days, we're supposed to get -25 weather. So I want to take the opportunity while it's warm right now and put this block heater cord in. I think I said in a previous episode I was going to get a new cord end for this, which I have not done yet. But this one still works. It'll get us by for the cold weather. And yeah, just 2 little things I want to knock off the list. And we'll be one step closer to getting rid of this thing, I guess. Alright, just gonna start by trying to rip this thing out of here. It's been in there a while. It might be hard to get out. But where there's a will, there's a way. Oh yeah, you're really in there, fella. Doesn't come out as nicely as the OEM ones. Oh boy. There you can kind of get a better look at the little line that's formed all the way across there since I've cut the seal out. Now you're probably saying, whoa, why'd you cut that seal out? When they replaced the windshield, they replaced the seal, so it's going in the garbage anyways. Yeah, this isn't bad. It's super, it's like the equivalent of a rock chip, but just better to deal with it now because it hides under the seal. So we'll go scrape that clean best we can and then see if I can find some type of a detail brush or something, and we'll... Alright, 75,000 million kabillion years later, I've went ahead and filled rock chips on the hood while I was here. The paint is not in amazing shape on this car, so it doesn't look perfect by any means, but from 5 feet back, looks much cleaner without all the black dots. So when you get up close, and yeah, she's got chippage, right? But we gotta remember what this car is. It's not a perfect show car. It's a 300,000 kilometer, 15, 16-year-old Civic Si. So I'm happy with that. It does look a little better. Obviously, the whole reason we had the paint out was we were doing this, and it is looking much better as well. I've probably got about 3 coats on there right now. I'm going to let that set up for a little longer, and I'll probably add a 4th coat just for some durability. But while that's drying, I figured might as well get this block heater in here. And get it all routed and zip tied and put away as nicely as possible. And then by that time we should be able to slap a 4th coat on top of that window ridge thingy. Alright? Alright. Okay, I got the car jacked up because my arm doesn't fit down to reach in there to plug the block heater in. So I'm gonna get on my wheelie boy, go under there, and try and plug it in from the bottom. And then we can come back up top and route it. But it's like a lake under there. And I ain't looking forward to it, but gotta get her done, right, Jaggy? Get her done. Yep. Hello, darkness, my friend. I'm gonna leave the light on down there because I'll probably go down and throw at least a zip tie on, but we'll get it routed up here first and then we'll see what we'll see. Ugh. Jackie, what are you playing with? Savage. You savage. I'm gonna leave a little slack down there. I don't even know if I'll actually need a zip tie down there. I just don't want it to hit the exhaust, but I think we're okay. Okay, I'm gonna go check on it from underneath, make sure it's not gonna get against anything hot or burning or moving. I think we're good to go. I'm gonna throw a coat of paint on that upper area one more time, but I'm not gonna film that. So for reals this time, I'll catch you. This GoPro is such a piece. This GoPro is such a piece. This GoPro is such a piece of shit. Keeps cutting out on me. Anyway. As I was saying, I'll catch you guys once the windshield's in the car. Okay? Okay. Alright, it has been several weeks since I last caught up with you guys. I'm going to apologize right now if this video is all over the place because I don't even remember the last thing I filmed, so it is what it is. I want to say we left off with the car being finished, but we hadn't got the windshield done. So the windshield is now finished and it's covered in water and dirt, but it's done. I've actually been daily driving this car for about 2, maybe 3 weeks now. As you guys will have seen there in the 10-minute toge video, that was this car. So it's been good to me. I haven't had any issues yet. I've had it listed for sale. I've had a few guys interested, but I actually haven't had anyone serious enough to come even look at the car yet. So the insurance ran out on my 9th gen, which was parked in the backyard, so I've just been driving this thing. Why not, right? I still haven't dealt with the SRS light. I'm hoping to maybe do that soon. You'll notice the block heater sticking out of the hood. We actually had a really cold spell there. It was around minus 30, 35. So when it was like that outside, I brought the block heater out so we could actually start this thing nicer in the mornings. Yeah, I mean, nothing has really changed other than the windshield, and I've been driving it. I've actually got it in the shop the other day because I have one small issue with it. It just started a day or two ago. The windshield sprayers, when you hit the sprayer, it does shoot fluid out of both sprayers, but it's just like a really lame stream. It doesn't actually like atomize. I don't know if that's the right word. We're going with it. It doesn't shoo. So there's a pressure issue of some kind. I don't know if it's the motor or if there's a line that's leaking or something. So I got to take that apart and look at that. And I thought, since I brought it in here to fix that, we might as well do the cost breakdown that I promised you guys on this car. And then we can finally close out this video series for good, I think. Eventually it'll sell, and then that'll be that. Moving on to the next thing. So let's try and diagnose our washer fluid issue. As you can see in here, the motor is working, but the pressure is abysmal. So let's pull this cowl off and see if we see anything obvious. See how much pressure we have to that point, see if it's a clog in those other lines. Yeah, that's not a very strong pressure up until that point. It should shoot like super crazy. So our issue is definitely between here and the pump. Start pulling this stuff off. I found the issue. In fact, I almost guarantee it. Yeah, that went across the shop and hit the wall, so issue resolved. So as I was just saying, the car was in for a windshield, and I guess I must not have been using the sprayer very often, and I only noticed it a couple days ago, but they would have had all these plastic pieces off, the cowl, side pieces, whatnot, and this this hose was kinked back here. So when they were setting in the plastics, they may have just accidentally caught it and kinked it. No harm done. It's unkinked now, so let me slap this back together quick. We'll give it one last test, and then we'll get into the price breakdown on the car. It's nice, yeah? All right, we come to the depressing part of the segment. How much did I spend on the Claptrap SI? Got it here in my sparkly VTech diary goodness. Okay, so some of this, well, all of this is not really gonna be in order. And some of these prices are because I bought certain things together, so I'm not breaking down every single individual part separately, but basically in groups of how I purchase things. And yeah, we'll tally it up as we get. So, for the car itself, I paid $2,000 Canadian. And keep in mind, this is Canadian. $2,000 for the car. As you'll recall, it had trunk rust, a 3-cylinder engine, it didn't like to shift. The DRL was on. The bumper was hanging off of it and the wood screwed on. The tires were on cords. And the brakes were very spongy. Next, I spent $500 on basically fuel to go get it. I did spend the night at a hotel, and then the transfer and taxes in my province are pretty expensive, so that was around $500 to get the car into my name and to go acquire the car. Right away I ordered winter tires for the car. Those were $510 and they cost an extra $120 to install. Next I have a Rock Auto order for $246. That included like brake pads, sway bar end links, cabin air filter, valve cover gasket, spark plugs. I don't know, the list goes on. A bunch of maintenance stuff, essentially. Now from Lordco, which is our local parts store, it'd be similar to your Advance Auto or something. I got brake rotors, front and rear, those are $140. I have fluids, $120, so that was engine oil, transmission oil, oil filter, brake fluid, clutch fluid, and coolant. I did put a brand new Honda throwout bearing in the car, that was $100. Brand new windshield in the car was $550. And then the engine, I ended up purchasing a used engine from a salvage yard. That cost me $1,300. From the local pick and pull, I spent $20. That was the rear mud flaps, one inner fender, and that might have been it. Exhaust was something I didn't expect to spend money on, but once I looked at it and noticed that it was kind of starting to rot, I replaced it. So that was $532 for the Onaka exhaust system, which I wouldn't recommend. From Amazon, I ordered lug nuts, hub-centric rings to mount up the Koenig wheels, and at that same time I also bought headlight bulbs because my bulbs were burnt out. So that was $120. The car had no splash shield on it when I got it, so I bought a Dorman unit. That was $60. And an AC condenser. The AC condenser was in very rough shape, and even though I have not filled the system since fixing the car, I decided to put a condenser in it so that it's ready to go, and the condenser is $60. So that brings us up to a grand total of $6,378, which is a far cry higher than the $5,000 we were hoping to spend. But there is a few things to bring this price down. So I stole the passenger seat and SRS module from this car and traded it to another car I was selling, and I valued that at about $400, and I did include that $400 in value into the other car when I sold it, so I would take $400 off the price into this car. Also, the value of the old motor. I still actually have it sitting just over here, but I know I can sell the parts off of it. We got a decent head, we got an RBC manifold, like there's good parts there, so I'm gonna be conservative and value that at $500, even though I think I can get more. So the combination of those two things, that takes $900 off the price, bringing us down to $5,418. Now, if we didn't buy the exhaust, we would have actually came in under our $5,000 budget. But such is life. Now, I know you're probably saying, well, Rob, you put lowering springs on the car, and you put fancy wheels on the car, and you put a sway bar on the car, and you put rear camber arms on the car. You'd be correct. I did do that. Now, I had all of these things laying around, so it's not really money I put out for this project. But to make the internet happy, I'm going to include basically what I would consider like a good use value for those parts to be. So for the lowering springs, I put $200. I went on Marketplace to try and find comparable stuff. I couldn't find any teen lowering springs, but I found a set of Skunk 2 lowering springs with OEM front struts for $200. So that's a very comparable setup. So I put $200 down for lowering springs. Now, SBC control arms. I believe these would probably cost you a few $100s new. However, they're not hard to find in the junkyards, even on base model 8th gens, because as you may know or you may not, rear camber tire wear is a major issue on these cars. It was a recall for them back in the day, so a lot of them, somewhere along the line, ended up getting camber arms put in them. Now, when I was at the junkyard buying the inner fender and the mud flaps, there was actually a car there that had a set of rear camber arms on it. I didn't grab them because I already had a set, and I would have to look up the exact price, but I bet you'd be spending about $30 to get them out of a junkyard. And like I said, it's not a stretch to be able to find them. Now the Koenig rims. So these I actually got for free and then some. I bought a car for $9,500, the rims were included. I ended up selling and trading that car off for around an $11,000 value, and I kept the wheels. So I'm not into them for anything, and they've been laying around a few years. But if you were to buy a wheel similar to those, they're not anything super desirable, but they're decent. I put they'd be about probably $400 on Marketplace. And then the sway bar, I bought that new from a friend who, well, he bought it new, didn't use it, and I bought it off him. And I think we actually ended up coming to a trade deal, but they're about $80 new. So with those added to our overall price, that brings us to $6,128. So I'm sure I'm missing a lot of little miscellaneous things, to be honest. Like I bought a can of paint and a can of seam sealer for the rust repair, and actually I paid my buddy some cash to weld it. So realistically, you could probably add for miscellaneous things probably another $250 to that price, which would bring us to like $6,400, which is bonkers. I've had the car listed for sale now for a few weeks, like I said, and I haven't actually had anyone come and look at it. I listed the car a touch high, expecting to be lowballed. I listed the car for $7,200 or best offer. With its few known issues, I feel like that's fair. Everyone else in my area is asking like 9 to 11 grand for 8th gens. So I feel like $7,200 was a good starting point for this car, being that it needs AC recharge. It has an SRS light on. Cosmetically, it's not perfect. It's pretty clean, but it's not perfect. Yeah, anyways. So I do think that's a bit high. Realistically, I think this is like a $6,000 car, and I ended up being invested a little more than that. So that's where flipping a car like this is not ideal. Like, don't buy a basket case unless you buy it dirt cheap. Unfortunately, I didn't. I was clouded by love of 8th gen, and I bought it anyway. So yeah, I don't really know where we're gonna go with this car. Like I said, I have it for sale. If someone comes and buys it, cool. If no one ends up wanting it, I'll probably lower my price and maybe keep my wheels and tires or something. I don't know. At this point, I'm just looking to break even. I'm not trying to make money on it. If I can get what I have into it or close to what I have into it, good enough. Speaking of what I have into it, I probably also have 60 to 70 hours or more, maybe, bringing the car back to life. So what I guess that means is my time is damn near worthless. But what can you do? It was a sort of fun project to do, and I got to film it for you guys, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, I think that's going to be all she wrote for the Allen Civic. I will keep you guys updated if this car sells or not. If I can't give it away, maybe I'll keep it. And I had mentioned a long time ago kind of building a rally car V2, one that wasn't as rusty as the black one. So if no one wants to take this thing off my hands, I might do that. I don't really like it in its lowered state. I don't mind driving it, but it's not really my thing. For the type of driving I like to do, I don't know. It doesn't really jive with me. So if I do end up keeping the car, I will probably revert it back to stock height or lifted. I mostly did the lowered thing because I had the parts laying around and I kind of wanted to show you guys what you could do with used parts what you had laying around and see if you could build something cool for a decent price. And I mean, I think we accomplished it. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think what we have here is a $6,000 car or not? I don't know. I'd like to hear your thoughts. So anyways, I'm going to stop rambling. I hope you guys enjoyed the build series on Alan. It was fun to do at times and I wanted to pull my hair out at other times, but that's how car projects go. So I will catch you guys in the next one where we are working on a different car. It's not a Honda. See you guys later. Peace out.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.